not a selectmen's meeting.
Public health meeting, okay. Well, the selectmen are meeting with our emergency management to discuss the public health issues. First, I'd like to welcome Elliot Licio to her first selectmen's meeting. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
And just to introduce, I think everyone knows, Don Briggs, Chief of Police Don Briggs, Fire Chief Graham Pellerin, and Road Agent Rich St. Hilaire run our emergency management department. I think we are blessed in this town that we have 3 people with a lot of experience in it. So with that, we did call a special meeting for 6 o'clock to discuss the health of our employees, our residents, and anyone else that travels through Kingston to keep us all protected and safe. So with that, I know there was an emergency meeting yesterday, and how did that turn out? If anyone wants to start out.
Yesterday?
You mean today?
Today, oh, I'm sorry, today at
There was
noontime.
one Friday and then again today.
We have a Mondays and Fridays
Yeah,
at
okay.
noontime. We speak with the people from New Hampshire Emergency Management and the governor and anybody within the state of New Hampshire. So they update all the communities as to what the current status is of the state as far as the virus is concerned. We spoke for quite a bit of time today, and actually they're putting out a new broadcast at 6 p.m. with the closing of, or something to do with restaurants and lounges, I believe. Do you have any further information on that?
So basically the way the conference call goes is we call in, and like the chief said, there's the governor, emergency management through the state. So the State Emergency Operations Center is open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, 7 to 7. And there's a line that we can call if we have questions after hours as well. They ask that any major decisions be pass by them, not for permission, but to let them know. Web EOC is a online bulletin board, basically, of other towns and road closings and all that stuff. That's fully operational for this period as well.
And that's 211 if anyone wants
so
to access that.
If any said, we have a different number that we call for our local liaison, but if anybody in the state of New Hampshire calls 211, they will get the latest up-to-date things from the state.
Okay. I believe on my way in, I did see today is the last day restaurants will be open for sit-down eating. All of them should remain open, I believe, but they are under order by the state government that they can only do takeout or delivery.
Correct. Starting tomorrow morning.
Correct. Has anyone talked to, do we know if all the Kingston restaurants are going to remain open or not?
Don't know that at this time. We just found this out. That wasn't in this morning's briefing.
No.
Yeah, so what they did make clear in today's conference call was that because of the ever-changing stipulations and rules and regulations, policies, anything handed down from the president and the governor, that it's basically a 6-hour transitional period, that every 6 hours something could change. So they're sending out emails, and it's actually started this week that we have a conference call Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon, just to keep everybody up to date and be able to trickle the information down to the citizens.
If I could just take a step back from, I just got off work, and I apologize, I wasn't able to make anything on Friday or this weekend. I was working all weekend, but I have been keeping abreast of it. The most important thing to understand is no one should panic. Everything is fine. What the state is trying to do is flatten the curve of the effects of this pandemic. That's what everything is precautionary to limit exposure for people, for especially the most vulnerable, elderly, or anyone with suppressed immune systems. They should really take precautions, isolate themselves, keep themselves away. Obviously, if you come in contact with anyone that's traveled overseas, especially China or Italy, that's one of the other concerns. What I would ask is everything in the town right now is still operational. We need to decide as far as emergency services go. If anyone has an emergency, they can still call 911. the first thing to keep in mind is if you feel you have been exposed to the coronavirus, identify that to the 911 operator. The service is still going to come and we are going to take care of you, but we want to protect our first responders in that aspect of it. But no one should be hesitating to call 911. Have we talked about or decided if there's a number they should be calling, whether it is town hall, fire department, or police department? If someone needs services, you know, I mean, obviously everything's shutting down, so if someone needs something, whether it's a child that needs, you know, delivery of meals for the children at home, or elderly that need a prescription, or, you know.
So we do receive calls on a regular basis for a variety of different things. We will assist them with whatever help they need. I know Graham does as well. He receives a number of calls just as we do.
We get calls at the town hall, here at the town hall.
I don't know, do you get the same type of calls?
For citizens,
Citizens in need?
it usually goes through welfare department.
To welfare, okay. So I know we field a number of different calls for assistance for a variety of different things, and that's year round.
So we did, Tom Ambrose, the superintendent of schools, was at the conference call today. We obviously working closely with the schools now that they've shut down. He advised us that the guidance counselors and nurses, I believe, are bringing meals to the people that have signed up that need assistance. So the fire station is staffed 24/7. You know, if nobody answers the phone, then we're obviously probably having an emergency call.
They can leave a message and it will be checked, correct?
Correct.
Police, I believe, if no one answers the phone, it automatically goes to Rockingham Dispatch. So again, those numbers still in effect. The only, does anyone have anything you want to add?
Well, I'm assuming we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do for the town hall, whether we want to slow down the number of hours and times we're open, whether we're gonna have emergency numbers posted on the doors, both downstairs and here, whether we want to post something on the website indicating that. There's some decisions to be made, or we may want to phase it over 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, I don't know.
I did just get an email from Mary Cook, who's my contact at the state. And
Public Health Network.
Yep. That Portsmouth, and obviously I'm not suggesting that we do something just because another town did it, but Portsmouth has officially shut down as of tonight their town hall, rec department, building department, and just keeping a skeleton crew in the town hall to deal with, you know, emergencies and still day-to-day operations that need to go by. It has been discussed on the conference call today about allowing the grace period for car registrations, that type of things, depending on how severe this gets and how much things are halted town hall wise and that sort of stuff. But that's up to you guys what you decide.
Kevin, before we go too far into that, go back to Tom Ambrose a minute. He said today that if we have any citizens in need of meals and stuff, to let him know,
They'll deliver.
and they will work that into their schedule,
Okay.
because they're planning on feeding people if they need to, so they said they're fully stocked and ready to do that.
So
Again, I would assume this broadcast is going to be replayed throughout, okay? But just the important thing to reach out any way you can, whether it's the police number, the fire number, and we will get you whatever services you need. We do have to decide what we want to do for town hall. That is a valid concern. Number one, I think we want to protect our employees as well as our residents. So
I spent most of the morning trying to figure this out, so, my recommendation would be to get as many people to do online registrations, any of the online stuff that they can do. Really, the only thing that the town clerk cannot do online is register a new car, and they can't do that in Epping either. So, my recommendation would be to keep the town hall open, but the door will not be open. You have to make an appointment to register a new car, or if there's something where you don't have online access and you need to be brought in there. We've ordered a new divider that protects the staff from anyone coming in contact with them, but there are things that just can't be done online.
Yep.
So, short of the state telling us that they're not going to you know, that's not gonna be illegal. I think we should stay open, but as far as the selectman's office, I've spoken with Tammy, about having Tori operate out of the town clerk's office, so she too would have the divided barrier there. If someone needed a form or needed to submit a form, they could submit it through that process by calling and making an appointment. One of the key parts of that would be when someone is allowed in for their appointment, they would sanitize their hands and submit what they needed to submit, but people should expect that it's gonna be at a minimum a week or two before applications are turned around.
So before we discuss it, if I'm hearing you correct, have this office open per se, the doors will be locked, there will be phone number posted on the door, so if someone comes, they will not be able to come in, but they can call the town clerk or the selectman's office or the assessor's office. Someone will be there, they can talk to them. I would hope people wouldn't be coming out if they are susceptible to it, whether they did travel or anything else. Our staff can ask those questions, and then based on their answer, allow them in, that we'll have a hand sanitize station at the door. And then they can come in to hand paper, there'll be gloves for the employees to use, and wipes there. Is that what you're suggesting?
I think those are the only interactions that need to take place as far as the inspectors. That's another issue, but I think as far as things that are now, that currently need to still continue to happen, those would be taken care of by being moved into that office and then allowing, there will be 2 people in the office at all times as well.
So let's go around the board and what does everyone else think? Start with you, Rich.
I guess at a minimum, that's okay, but I still think we ought to think about isolating people totally and maybe taking stuff to them or saying, you know, the amount of your check needs to be this, and somebody, I guess my issue is who's going to decide what the emergency is, whether they're allowed in, and who's going to admit that, you know, I've been around somebody or may have been around somebody. I mean, you just run into too many ifs that bother me, but I think that's a good start, because I feel like the state's probably going to shut us down in the next few days anyway, the rate this is escalating.
Well, that's part of the thing. Everything is changing hour to hour. We're just trying to go through it, but, Don?
So what I've done is something different at the PD, and maybe it could happen here, maybe it doesn't work here. We've closed the station down at South. People can get into the front lobby and speak to our dispatch secretary. And most of the people that want to come in and meet with me or with Joel Johnson and myself, we actually go around to the back of the building into the garage, which I've set up this weekend. And there are a number of long tables that go this way. There's a large piece of plexiglass that goes this way. And the person or the people sit at the far end of the table. The officer sits here, and that large piece of plexiglass halfway in between is kind of a blocker. And because we have to have contact with the public in a lot of the things that we do, if they have to write a statement because they're a victim of a crime or domestic violence or whatever, those types of things. So someone said something about meeting with inspectors. Do they have to do that as well on a regular basis? Do they?
We were talking about that today, we're, with what you started with, to only a minimum of contact, but even more so, there's very few things that we have to do right away. If someone applies for a permit, they can send it via email or mail. They can talk to the inspectors on the phone, and they can be told it's going to be probably a week before it's approved, and then if we need to take care of it then, they can bring it in and whatever, but very little contact needs to take place.
I would say either contact or no contact. That's how critical this is.
Well, the thing is, going back to what the CDC is recommending here, I just feel, unless we're going to shut contractors down in the town, they still function. Everything is recommended to keep it less than 50 people in a room, okay?
It's down to 10.
Down to 10. So if you go into do an inspection, if no one's there, you know, they can go in after hours and inspect it or whatever. You know, you want to be limited on how far you are from people, but that is the next thing we're going to talk about. Let's before we get to inspectors, let's stick on town hall. You're kind of recommending,
Well, I would
Inspectors our
suggest,
town hall. What? Inspectors our town hall. That's where the business office is.
Yeah.
So it's
And
all
not on
tied
Tammy's
together.
side either.
so I think each position holds different things, you know what I mean? So, we looked at Tammy's office today, and, her area is wide open, so they can walk within a couple of feet of the person that's doing business with them. Number one, money, cash, cash being handled across and under and so on and so forth. So you people would need to be having gloves, right? And those types of things. So I think each position really needs to be looked at separately because they have different hazards. So I don't think we can generalize and say, well, Tammy's office works this way, so we need to put full pieces of glass or plexiglass in and just one little cutout, make sure she has the proper, each job needs to be analyzed. She should be having gloves in there. Both of those windows should be enclosed and just a little port for her to be able to take something through. If they're gonna handle cash or any of that stuff, where are we gonna put it? Who's gonna handle it? Who's gonna count it? How's that gonna work? I think each job, each position needs to be looked at separately.
Can I make a suggestion, that we meet with the staff tomorrow and map out a plan for this weekend next, and maybe beyond, because it's hard for me to make a decision, an informed decision, when we don't know I don't know what we can do in terms of blocking things off, or giving access, or even having a drawer where they could print off a building permit request at home and then slip it into a door or a receptacle here.
So we looked at putting a mail slot in the selectman's office. I think without renovating the whole town hall, the reason we looked at putting Tori in with the town clerk is because there's already dividers in there. There's, a deep shelf. I mean, is it ideal? Absolutely not. But if you're someone who is closing on a house and you need your occupancy permit and the inspector needs to inspect it, and the whole thing, you got a U-Haul with all your worldly possessions in there, and that's the one thing holding it up. I mean, oh, we're closed, sorry, you're on hold for 2 weeks. I mean, we gotta be flexible here.
that's what I'm looking at.
We have to, we need to provide all of the precautions that we can to the employees while still, it's not like the doors are wide open and someone's gonna come in coughing and sneezing and go right up to the door. It's, they call ahead, here's what I need to do. Okay, you gotta go online and print that out.
Can I suggest something? We have a vegetable downstairs in the back, not up here, but certainly downstairs, with a double door. We could have a receptacle for them to leave things. We could have postings on the door so that, hey, I'm outside, any chance I can get this, that, and the other, so that it makes them stop and think about what they're doing. I don't think we're gonna have the same traffic we normally do. That's my guess. And I don't think that.
It was pretty busy in there today, from my observation. It didn't seem, I tried to talk to her 3 times, and someone was coming every time. I mean, it's not slowing people down. I think locking the doors.
It's like stockpiling
Well,
services.
Registering cars for June.
For June, that's stockpiling.
So I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Tammy what she thinks the hazards are in her particular office. What do you think needs to be fixed?
You might wanna come to the microphone, Tim.
There's no acoustical tile, so it doesn't matter.
Thanks. So, of course, just the interaction, but we handle money, we handle credit cards, we handle checks all day long. Some of the stuff, like a hunting license, it's really not imperative that they get it, but they're there today getting that.
It's their emergency.
Yeah, so most transactions can be done online, some can't. Hunting, fishing, boats, we can't register boats online, and the new cars are the transfers for a new car. But most of the transactions, dog licensing, car registrations, and taxes can be done online. The software company has waived the fee. It's only $1.50, but it's $1.50 that they're gonna waive for anyone to do a transaction online. I just got a email from the state of New Hampshire DMV that they're working on it. They're like real close to a decision, but they may just close. So if they do, then I can't do anything, because if I have any questions, there's no one to call. I did get a hold of Rick Bond, who is my IT guy, and he will be available for any computer issues, so. I only have one person, Gail's on vacation, Holly, has been sick, so I don't wanna push too hard, but we'll do whatever you want us to do.
So have we looked at each position to see what PPE is required for that particular job? I think that's the first thing we need to look at when it's available. Personal protective equipment. Each job should have a different level.
Well, I think, number one, you talked about ordering glass. When is that coming in, or when will that be done?
I'm sorry.
The glass.
You talked about ordering glass for,
Well, so Phil and I looked at Tammy's office today, and, it's user-friendly.
Yep.
So it's got a glass about this high, so you're looking across the top of the glass into people's eyes, number
Yep.
one. So that's not safe.
yeah, but did you order it?
So that was ordered. Tom told me he was picking it up at 1 o'clock today. Do you know if he did that, Rich?
So why are we ordering anything? It already exists. There's 2 pieces of glass that is full glass with a small cutout and a voice box to talk through. Why are we doing
The
that?
left one hits me about right here.
I'm telling you it exists, Richard. Don't, it exists. We built it. That's the way it was. We removed it because the last town clerk didn't like it.
So
Okay?
Do you-
It exists.
you have 2
Do we want-
pieces?
Do we want to put those back
Two pieces,
in?
one
Someone
piece.
ought to be letting me know.
Well, then I spoke to Tom about it. So did Tom know they existed?
He took them out, I believe.
Okay, so I talked to Tom about it before I ordered it. So Tom was right in the office when I ordered it.
Okay.
So that's apparently there's a lack of communication somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
So I talked to Tom long before.
Pretty sure they're right up here on the stage. All we do is slide them in.
Couldn't tell you that.
Okay, all right, so that aside, we might have 2 sets of glass.
Yeah.
When is it gonna be installed? Or when could it be installed?
The last I understood when I talked to Tom today, he was gonna pick it up and install it. That was the last I heard.
I'm sure it can get done tomorrow.
Okay,
But
so,
Whichever piece we use doesn't really matter. Two's better than none, that's for sure.
Phil and I had the conversation downstairs, we measured it with Tammy. I spoke to Tom about it, and, told him what the suggestion was, and, he was gonna pick it up at 1 and install it. That was my understanding.
So would we want to leave one in the selectman's office in that front?
Well, I'm hearing something different, so what you really need to do, if you're gonna put Tori over there now, the next window over,
Oh, I see, you'd have Tammy and Tori together in that.
Yeah.
you really need to do both windows
Okay,
to protect both of them.
Okay,
Well, there's the curtain on the one window, and I think if we're restricting access, we're not gonna have a line of people where we have to have 2 windows. But if we have it in storage, we might as well throw them both in. I mean,
Yeah.
so I guess, all right, if that was installed, let's go around the table. Let's start with Tammy, okay? What is your opinion as the town clerk? Do you feel, as the town clerk, that it should be closed or not closed, or limiting the access as Phil kind of suggested?
Personally, I like that idea, because then it's gonna make someone think, geez, do I really need to make an appointment for this fishing license today?
Yeah.
Or maybe I can wait 2 weeks.
So let's go around the table again, and we'll talk about Tammy. If the glass is up and we restricted access, is everyone in favor of that? I get a nod from Rich.
Sure.
It was your idea. You okay?
yeah,
Okay.
as long as Tammy's okay.
So I would just say that you would also need to stipulate that you leave it up to Tammy to turn people away if she feels it necessary, whether they have symptoms or whether she deems their
Correct,
emergency
so-
or not emergency.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility to put on Tammy.
I think you need to analyze each job.
How about what will happen with Tammy would make a chart tomorrow that states, this door is locked, but people are in the building. Okay, if you need a transaction done, please call, it'll be the number. If they don't have a cell phone, you can leave a piece of paper so they can copy it out there. Okay, maybe a pad of paper and a pen out there, so they can copy it, go home and call the number, but if they have a cell phone, they can call. Then you could explain and allow her to do stuff that way?
That might work for a while. I'd go along with it for this week, I'll be real honest with you.
You get a number.
I think Rich is right, it's probably gonna get shut down in 2 days, I think.
Anyway, so let's start.
Let's just start somewhere.
Yeah, so we start with that, and then you can, if someone calls and says, I need a hunting license, hey, how about if you just come back next week?
Or
All right.
next month.
Or go to Walmart. They sell them.
But you can also, if it's someone that can, if the option is for them to go online and pay for it online, you could explain that. Or if it is a new car, whatever that you have to do, say, okay, I'm gonna let you in, but there's hand sanitizer here, you need to use that, come to the window. But you would ask them first, have you traveled recently? You know, do you have a cough? Do you have a temperature right now? Ask the question at the very least. And do you have gloves down there? Do we need to get you gloves?
We have a box left over from
Elections.
yeah.
And there is a box in the selectman's office as well, and then we have the hand sanitizing station, that is down at the town clerk's office as well.
Okay.
The one we used at voting.
Okay.
So let's start with that. That takes care of that. Okay, next question.
Does that work well in your office as well, Susan?
It does, that was our biggest concern, though, was that we didn't want to be making decisions, okay, you can come in, but you can't, and being responsible for making sure they're healthy and all this stuff, so we wanted to really almost close it completely. If someone calls and it's something that really can't wait, then they can make an appointment, but we didn't want it to be like, most people can come in if they just call first, we didn't want it, that's like almost exposing you just as much anyway, because
In which case they could also call an inspector if they needed an inspector for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They could appoint with them.
they'll have to understand it might be a while before they get this all
And,
transacted.
and so, let me just segue into that. We had discussed at the inspectors meeting last week, you know, probably more history than anybody wants, but an application is just that, it's an application. We're not taking money from anyone until it is fully reviewed by all the inspectors, unless it's just a standard one that is. So what I recommended to Tori is that we do not take any money whatsoever, and at a minimum, you tell people if they submit an application, it will take up to a week. So no action is gonna take on it that day, and we're not taking any money more, we're not taking anyone's license, it would just be a piece of paper that we would take. But if we're restricting access to appointment only, it would be major things like a building permit or things like that. But my recommendation was that she does not take any money, she does not take anyone's license, it's just a piece of paper that is the transaction.
But that's all we do.
What's that?
So that's all we do.
But
We
No,
take
I know, but no money.
money all day long, and we have to have a license for every single transaction.
No, we're talking about the inspectors.
No, I know,
Oh.
but what I'm saying is the difference for me is that's all we do.
Well, I think he's
We're
saying
just-
because we don't know how quick the turnover is gonna be for a permit.
So,
At
but,
the same
so here's the
time-
bigger issue. Are we letting them into that office?
No, I mean, she's gonna be working out of the town clerk's office.
Everybody, so nobody's gonna get,
I mean, Susan would still hold her position in that office, but the door would be locked.
I'll do phone and computer.
so Tori will be doing the, what she normally does in Tammy's office.
Yes. I think the key thing we need to come up with here is what is an acceptable reason to come to the town hall.
Right.
And I don't think a dog license or a hunting license, I think it's, I have a new car and I can't do it anywhere else.
So is the town going to put something out, because the people are probably worrying, well, if I don't register my dog, that means someone catches my dog, I'm gonna be
Well,
fined.
That April 15th.
It's April 30th, is the deadline.
So is the town going to put something out that's gonna waive maybe the dog license?
That's a state law. The town
Right, but I
can't.
mean, that's something we need to talk to the state or someone about.
Well, I think we're not worried about
They
that
can
yet.
register online, Tim.
They can register it
They
online.
register the dogs online, pay the fees online.
But if they can't, then they can call, we're gonna give them a number to call to discuss it with you.
Yeah, I mean, right,
Do
they can
anything.
send it, they can mail me a check, I mean, there are other options, and we still have 6 weeks
Rich?
for that deadline.
So, the meeting today, Senator Morgan from District 23 joined us and listened in, and what he left saying was basically the Senate and the House are both looking to pass an omnibus bill to take care of all these little things, to extend the registration of cars, to move out the registration, licensing your dogs, all those kinds of things. They're trying to get that all done. They are also under the gun. they're probably just gonna come in, one quick session, pass the omnibus regulation law, whatever it is, and be done with it. Hopefully take care of all these little loose ends that we don't have the answer to. So the state is working on that. Senator Morgan did tell us that today. If I missed anything there, Dawn or Graham. The other thing that you need to consider, yeah, we're trying to make it so that people have access to the town hall, and you really need to look at meetings and planning board meetings
that's
and
coming.
ZBA,
That's
all
the
those
next
kinds
one.
of
Yep.
things. But you gotta remember, you got one town clerk. If she gets exposed, she's gone for 2 weeks. There is no town clerk.
Minimal.
You've got minimal. You got one chief of police and 6 or 8 officers. You're short shifted right now. So 1 or 2 of those guys gets exposed, or one of those guys come back into the police station and exposes 2 or 3 others. You don't have a police station. You don't have 24-hour shift. Same thing with Graham and the fire department. They go out and do 3 or 4 calls, and 3 or 4 of their guys get exposed. Well, it's not just 3 or 4 guys, it's a whole crew. So we got to be very careful, and the public's got to understand your emergency and essential personnel to run the town have got to be available. We can't be available if we allow all this access and people are exposed. So basically, they can't be only emergency access for.
Well, I want to empower the Tammy to make the decision that the people can call and say, and she can say, you know what, you can do that online. You don't have to come in the building. You can.
Some people don't mind saying no. I'm one of them. There are a lot of people that have a hard time saying no.
And there,
Well, the door's locked and they're not going to be able to get in. You know, I would hope that Graham's people are taking precautions. There's a lot of different steps that has come out from the World Health Organization, from the state of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services on how our first responders should be protecting themselves first before they do anything. If there's any type of thing where there's a potential for an exposure, they should be completely gowned up.
Yeah, you're talking about paid professional firefighters that are trained regularly on PPE and recognize signs and symptoms. You've got staff that have absolutely no experience, absolutely zero.
You have your full-timers that are well aware. The others, the full-timers are explaining to you.
Your fire department and your police department are well trained. You're talking about the rest of the town.
Yeah.
That have absolutely no training. I spent half an hour explaining to them the proper use of gloves this morning.
Yeah.
Okay? Never, ever. How many PPE classes have you been through, Kevin?
Well, people don't even wash their hands, Rich. I don't disagree with
Well,
that. The inspectors, that's the next question we started to go to.
Before you go to,
Go ahead.
we haven't left the town hall yet, I got a couple things to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Number one, I think this, putting up the barriers and locking the doors is a this week only, because I think by next week we should close. And I think we could do that this week in I really do. I feel that if we don't participate with the rest of the world in shutting things down and getting rid of that big bell curve, we're gonna be screwed, and we're still looking at 3 months anyways ahead of us. We're not out of this yet, that's one. So I don't mind going along this way, getting up the closing the doors and doing minimal services this week to outside people. But I really think that by next week we'll be making the decision to shut down.
Make it to next week.
And I hope you're right. The second piece of it is, what are we doing to disinfect the town hall and all the work services? And one of the things I've learned on some of the TV watching things I've been doing is that the virus lives for 3 days on hardwood. And so that concerns me. We got a lot on wood around here, and when we have public meetings, which leads into the land use boards, we need to be able to make sure that every night we're washing down the surfaces of the desks and the tabletops and the meeting areas. I know that's another layer of expense. I have no idea what the system is now, but they were very clear from the one of the healthcare people, that you need to wash down the surfaces every night in order to at least provide a clean environment from which to start and take gloves on or your mask or whatever else we're going to do. So Just saying.
So I can tell you, the crew that comes in every morning at 6 o'clock, they do the
You
town
do,
hall.
okay, I didn't know that,
I
Rich.
know that, Ally, but that's
Okay.
why they come in at 6 o'clock, long before the office personnel come in. The first hour and a half is spent here in the town hall. Generally, they go over the library. For years, we've had a trustee at the police department. We don't have that anymore. Police department only gets serviced once or twice a week, and the fire department, not at all. I mean, so that's what you got. You have 2 guys.
How about
that
the
do
library?
everything.
How about the library, Rich? What's that?
They're over there, I think twice a week. I'm not 100% sure of
It's
that.
twice, if not
Twice.
more.
You need, obviously, you need to keep up with the extra time, because we should be able to get money back on that, right?
Well, that's been their daily chores for years.
No,
and
but I mean,
years.
if we had additional time, like, a couple hours to
Yep.
do more sanitizing.
Yep, that's all couchable.
I'm gonna get a call from the library sometime soon, but I think they're gonna recommend closing.
Right, the trustees are meeting tonight, I believe. at 6:30.
There is, they called one and.
And I would think that would be fine with that, that's not I'm just saying, if someone needs something done, same thing with the inspections, if it's a critical thing, that the inspectors, that their numbers are posted, that they can call and they can decide, Robert, or any of the plumbing inspectors. We're only, if it's a case-by-case decision. But Robert, I guess, the biggest one, the others get paid when they do the inspection, so they can limit what they do. It's only on an emergent basis that I would assume they would do an inspection. But Robert gets paid daily. The next question is, if he's not doing anything, are we gonna pay Robert?
Yes,
Inspections are a very
Yeah.
minor part of what he does. So I think if Robert didn't do an inspection for the next month, he would probably be able to catch up on
Plenty to
a lot
do.
of paperwork
Okay.
and review a lot of plans. So I hate that misconception because he has a lot of stuff going on.
So, yeah, so he's gonna come
I
in,
think he needs more hours, but
Yeah.
that's another discussion.
that is another discussion. Okay, so,
But
but,
it's,
I spoke to him briefly about it. I'm not trying to sway this one way or the other. I want everybody to be, I agree with what you're saying, Rich, but I also feel there's a level of customer service that is still out there, an expectation that people still have to register their cars and things like that. I guess the biggest thing we want to leave from this meeting on is what is an emergency? That needs to be clearly defined for people, because a hunting license is not an emergency. A lot of these things, people don't think of it that way, and they're not gonna think of it that way unless you explicitly tell them, your car getting registered is not an emergency today. But if you're leaving for North Dakota to go work in the shale mines or whatever, and you just got a new truck and you need a license plate, well, maybe that's an emergency. I don't know.
So we probably want to develop a sign, put it on the back door, what we
Yep.
want it to say. If you want these people, you call this number or extension, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're gonna need to call to get in. Is that correct, what I'm hearing?
that will go for town clerk, assessor, and inspectors,
it's admin.
And admin.
admin.
Basically, yeah, whatever you need,
It's
call the number.
And you probably can do welfare too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a amount she can do from here and home, but she still needs a number to be reached.
Right,
And most things can be handled on the phone. We get calls all the time, say, oh, it's online. You walk them through it, they can find it online, they can take care of it,
Yep.
they can wait a week, there are very few things that have to be done right then and again.
correct.
Good.
So I just received a message from the senator that met with us today, and PPE will be heading this way tomorrow. What's your thought about putting a small box in the entryway? Anyone that enters the building must wear at least a mask.
I would say the mask at the very least, it doesn't even have to be an N15 for them. It should be for ours if there's a potential exposure to it. Just them covering their mouth, I think a regular mask and hand sanitizer should be there. We could ask the people, please put on a mask and wash your hands.
That should be part of that sign.
Yep.
That we're gonna have, maybe Natasha make. Natasha will. So, I mean, is that,
Probably only want to have like 5 sets of them out there, because apparently people are just like going into places, taking the toilet paper and whatever.
They
So,
are.
yeah, I got an appointment.
yeah. But that may also reduce some of the exposure that we may see.
Ellie, you brought up the point of the glove. I think if we put the hand sanitizer and the mask and have them do it, they put on gloves, the second they go like this, they're contaminated. The staff should be putting on gloves to handle any paperwork or money and changing it as soon as they do that. But having someone come into the town hall with the second they touch their face, you might as well not even put a mask. So put the mask on, that limits them from spreading any droplets, okay, and have them sanitize their hand. And then our staff, to do any transaction with paper, should be putting on gloves and then changing the gloves, okay? And just keep that in mind when at the end of the day, when they go to grab that paper or that money, same thing, put gloves on. I think the most important thing is to educate our own staff, but does that take care of, like, tomorrow morning we could get signs up? And if the residents understand, just bear with us, we're doing this for their benefit, so they're still able to do stuff if they need it, but we really want to restrict. People should be staying home, okay, good chance to read a good book, work, be with your children, even go out for a walk, okay?
So we'll
But-
lock the doors tomorrow, starting tomorrow, the doors will be locked and silent, yep.
Hold on a second. Mr. Adam,
We all be mic'd here. Okay. I'm sorry, I just feel like I should ask. This is all about the back door. What about people who have to come in the front door?
It's gonna say, go around back, or,
I just raise a concern respectfully that there might be a certain privacy issue with some of those situations. That I just thought I'd bring that up for you guys.
yeah, no, I would say the front door should remain locked, period, but it could say, if you're trying to get a hold of planning board or welfare officer, you can call this number, same thing.
yeah, I don't see, well, that still could be locked, and therefore they have to call in order to meet with the planning board representative or the welfare
Yeah.
officer.
If you don't lock it, they're gonna be coming in that way and coming downstairs.
It definitely needs to be locked, but there's no reason why, if there is security or privacy issues, that they couldn't come in the front door like they do now.
Yeah.
The same person that's in the office is
Yeah.
gonna interview them, is gonna have to go to that door, let them in,
Right.
have them glove up, or use a
going
hand
through-
sanitizer and put a mask on, and then,
So they use it for planning and welfare only, right? And if Ellen's here, she can still do the job the same way via phone, and she decides emergency basis or not, but exact same thing. Right?
So, yeah, in fact, I think that's probably gonna be the busiest one, is people who are out of work, as they're shutting everything down, there are people who are gonna be greatly in need.
Yeah.
And I think, just in the back of everybody's mind, it's not an issue today, but I guarantee you by the middle of next week, we're gonna have a lot of need there.
This is fluid, it's gonna change as time goes on, day to day. Every day it changes. So, like you said, next week may be something different, maybe we'll have to close.
The next thing is planning board or any other
Land use
meeting.
boards, we have two, planning and zoning.
Yeah. So how are we gonna go with those meetings?
But just so you know, Heritage and Envision Kingston have already canceled till next month.
Kingston
Okay.
Kingston, Envision Kingston. The library is planning on closing tonight.
I would think they would probably we should even recommend that they close, but it is
It's
trustees.
their call, and they're leading towards closing
Yeah.
because you can't clean books, for one.
Yeah.
They had kids in there today that were just going nuts, and so they feel like they need to close to protect that. The planning board is prepared to call everybody for tomorrow night, tell them there's no meeting, based on our recommendation. My recommendation would be no meeting of that, no meeting of historical district. I think that's Wednesday night.
Trustees of the trust funds are meeting by phone tonight. Recreation is, the only thing they have coming up is their Easter party, and I'm probably gonna tell them to cancel that.
And zoning had our meeting, we had our last week, excuse me, so we're not scheduled again till April.
I guess the only question I would have is, we can't really dictate to an independent board what they're doing. The planning board, or the ZBA for that matter.
Yeah, but you can close the building if they don't have a place to meet.
Yeah.
That's
It's
exactly-
your building to close, don't forget
Not only
that.
that, but they can't have a planning board meeting without more than 10 people.
I don't think the planning board will be, I don't think, like, for the zoning board, I would hope that now you take an application for April and you can, you know, gauge
I've got
whether
two.
April is gonna be cleared or not, you
I
know?
have 2 applications, but by the same token, I can talk to both. Tell them, I'm not sure we'll meet in April, we need to see, in 2 weeks I'll make a call, because I have to give enough notice to put legal notices in.
Yeah.
So nothing's gonna happen till those go in which case it's at least 2 weeks away before we make a decision. And I'll tell you guys first, I mean, I'd say, we're gonna have one because the petition was wanted.
And the,
And I get the town hall open one night.
and the town's gonna have to eat the reposting for, if we cancel them,
Tomorrow night's
tomorrow
meeting.
night planning board meeting,
Correct,
it's already been noticed, the town's gonna have to eat that and renotice it.
correct.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's only fair.
I think it's only fair.
Yeah, so that was the one I was more worried about, not so much the other ones. I would, you know, is the planning board. I don't know what's on the agenda or whatever, but I don't think we
The
should have.
agenda is absolutely booked.
Yeah.
I mean, shutting it down is gonna cause nightmares and problems, but like I say, I don't think we can run that risk of having groups in here.
No, I agree. If the court can shut down,
And
I think,
Well, they said we could have a planning board meeting if we had call in and all kinds of things, but we're not set up to do that yet. Maybe we will be in the future, but.
So, in it, trying to meet up with this new thing that they're kind of throwing 91A out the window, we're trying to get a teleconference line set up so that multiple people can call in. So it's just a 1-800 number, and then you have your ID number. Everybody can call into that, so we can have an actual teleconference. It's not cell phone sitting on a table with speakers on or anything. And I think that is something we need to purchase. It's usually, you just pay for the amount of time you use it, and that's what they charge you on. And Susan started looking into that, and I'm gonna help her with that. I do think, as I'm sitting in this meeting, every single one of these is a case-by-case basis. So I think as a select board and as an emergency management team, we need to block off a time. It's 1 o'clock every day where we have a time to call into that number. Everybody's freed up. And if there's a question that comes up, like, is this an emergency? Should I let this person in? We can all call in on that and we can weigh in. And that allows us to deal with, because obviously this is a very fluid situation. It's changing every 6 hours. So if we have a set time where we're just all available to deal with it may be a 0-minute call, it may be a 15-minute call, but we just try and take these as they come.
The other thing that came out from the governor this afternoon, I don't know if you've seen it, but, they said even selectmen's meetings now can have 1 selectman there.
yeah,
They're waiving all
but
of
the others have to,
all the
yeah,
rules.
teleconference in, they're waiving that part. But we would have to allow people to be able to call in. So I think the first thing exactly was my next point was for public meeting, if we could have Susan tomorrow, order that.
Yeah,
The phone itself,
and she would be there to take minutes of the meeting.
yeah.
You know, she would call into it, so there would be a record of the meeting, and that, you know, we're checking that block, but.
Well, we gotta buy the console for it.
No, this is just, you can call in on your cell phone. No,
It's
nobody,
software, it's like go-to-meeting, that type of thing.
no, it's just a phone number. It's just 1-800 or whatever. You call in,
It's
you
an
put in your
ID
ID number, and then everybody's patched into the same thing.
But if we're,
It's a software service.
yeah, but we should also have something here so that people can conference in here. The town should at least own that, but if the planning board's gonna meet or something like that, that people can call in, it's a console that sits.
Let's get this one up and running first, and
Yeah.
then we'll worry about land use boards, okay?
But I do want to make a comment, not to beat a dead horse and keep going back, but if you're gonna restrict public access to Tammy behind glass, then you should be doing that for every employee in the town hall. So if Ellen needs to meet with somebody, even if it's in private, she should go down to Tammy's office and meet behind that glass.
Yes,
Oh, that's a good point.
yes, absolutely. That's why I said
So nobody should be coming in this door, they go around the back, you know, it's,
each position you need to look at and see what the hazards are in each position.
She can talk to him, in all honesty, short of the planning board stuff, I think the emergency the welfare stuff, The people can, if there's they can write down the number and go home and talk to her from the privacy of their home, so that they're not sharing information down there or whatever.
Well,
And
let's ask Ellen tomorrow what would be the best way to go, because I'm
Yeah.
sure she could think of a good way
Next weekend.
to secure her,
privacy.
the privacy and health and safety.
Yep.
Well, they still need to come in, they need to pick product up from her too.
That's correct.
They still need to
Which
come
means
in.
they still have to come in and wipe their hands and put a mask on and fill up a
But I would
bag or
hope the
whatever.
fire department, any burning permits, fill it out
Yeah, so we're
online.
taking a similar approach to, the police department. We posted both entry doors. We don't have a vestibule or a foyer that we can contain people.
Not yet.
Right, hopefully soon. So all burn permits have been shut off face-to-face. You can still obtain burn permits through the state of New Hampshire website. That's posted on each door. And then just non-emergent business is kind of being similar to Tammy, just, you know, hey, if we can't do it over the phone or whatever, we'll figure it out. But, you know, like Elliot said earlier, the whole point to this is to curb, you know, the bell curve and exposure. So the more limited that your contact is with other people, then the better. So, but obviously we are still there 24/7 to answer emergency calls and
Still make no sense.
Plan council makes this, or plan on canceling the planning board meeting whether we do or not.
Okay.
And I bet they can continue it to a date and time certain anyways.
So is that new right to know law?
I'll
So,
have a copy of that, I have not seen, is that online?
this is from the governor.
Okay, I'll get a copy of it, I'll get it offline, it's okay.
stay away.
I think there was well, you might not be in
I'm
an
not-
email. I think,
I was not on that email, because I.
no, NHMA, I think, sent out something.
I don't get anything from NHMA.
Okay.
They don't like moderators.
Maybe they'll like you now. Does anyone else have anything that we haven't covered yet?
Can we just pick a time where we can all meet? Honestly, it does not, I strongly recommend it not be in person, to what Rich was saying, you know, man down, not everybody should be in the border at the same time, but, you know, 8 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think if we stick with the same time period at noontime, we're gonna do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe. So if we can stick to that noontime schedule, we know that at least Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're tied up every week.
But you wanna have one tomorrow, is that what you're saying?
You'd like to do it every day?
I
don't think we need to do one every day, I think we need to have that time open. If we have to have,
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12.
yeah,
but you're also having that call with the state, that's why I was saying 1 o'clock.
We have that call, and then we meet right after that and make any
yeah,
decision.
because any new information that comes up that the state is telling us that we have to do, that would be a good time to
And
meet
you
right
convey
after.
it and you check up on anything.
When is your
else.
call from the state?
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noontime.
Okay, so what if we said 1 o'clock, but,
That's why I'm saying 1 o'clock, because there's other things beyond what the state is bringing up. There's someone who's calling, I really need this. Can I let them in? And I don't think we should be putting it on Tammy and Tori to be the gatekeeper. I think they have to have an avenue to call us and say,
So do you
and
wanna?
I don't think it should be one person making the decision.
Do you wanna leave the fire department and come over here at 1 for a meeting?
No, that's what I'm
He's
saying.
gonna say-
We
he's
get
gonna
the
send us-
teleconference thing, we'll just send out a text, we'll set up a group text, meeting at 1 today, here's the question. So everybody can know what the question's gonna be, and we can come fresh off that meeting from the state.
Yeah.
If you wanna come to the fire station, we can meet there right after and call on one of the lines there, just put it on the telephone.
but we have to allow the public, when we do it, to have access to that same thing if someone wants to listen to it.
Listen,
That is part of the right to know. If we're gonna have a meeting,
Public hearing. Public hearing.
anything, if we have, there has to be an opportunity for the public to listen to it if they want.
you probably wanna listen, you probably wanna read this.
That was the one I was looking at. I'll take a look at that after, but,
That's the newest one.
because it said you still have to have an opportunity for the public to call in.
Susan, could you email us all a copy of that new right to know law?
They-
I have not seen it.
Actually, what they told us today was you have a right to listen in.
Yeah.
Just listen in, you don't have a
Yeah.
right to respond back.
Correct.
So a public meeting, that doesn't mean that you can participate in it, but you have to be able to hear it.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so usually with those conference lines, they do have people who can't chime in either, they're just a muted bystander.
The press, whoever.
So we have to allow, if we're gonna do it, we have to, you know, we have to allow the public access to it as well.
Or we can post a notice stating that we're having a recurring meeting at 1 o'clock.
But the public still is allowed to listen in on it.
Let's not argue about it until we've read it,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a way to either televise it through Adam or record it and post it on the site, so we shouldn't get worried. I appreciate that because I'm very big on the right to know, but let's read that, let's figure out exactly what we need to do and how we can do it, because I'm betting that we could record it and post it on the website, so that they know, number one, that we are having these recurring meetings, updates on emergency management, number one, and number two, that the broadcast of those discussions will be available X amount of time afterwards. How does that sound? Does that sound reasonable?
Would a written summary, like minutes that I post, would that do? Or
That might be good.
just to
This-
say, any decisions you make, I will pull it as an update.
I'll read
I'll
that.
give you that.
Let's read that first and get some
Okay.
I
feedback.
guarantee this changes by Wednesday.
Yeah, it's pretty,
That may not as
Pretty
much
vague
as
right
some.
now, but
It may,
1 o'clock for everybody?
Yeah,
it won't work for me on this Wednesday, but that's okay.
so 1 o'clock we're here?
No, just if it's
Call
a
in.
case-by-case basis, if we need it at 1 o'clock, we'll just send out a text, everybody can call in, or someone's at the fire station, that would probably be the impromptu meeting area.
Or if you wanna come down to our new area, you're more than welcome to come down.
Away from the firemen, so they're not bringing contamination to the fire department. This is kind of a no man's land. I wouldn't suggest police station, the library. You know, there's no employees that access on a regular basis. It should be a relatively clean room, and this is probably where we should be. And we can do those conference calls any place.
Right.
We can set a phone up, and it can be a cell phone. Those conference calls can be done off nice.
I would suggest the library only because you still have the public coming in this building, even limited, and can live on a surface for, and they're unsure of that, you know, 1 day, 3 days, you know, Tom and the guys aren't wiping down the walls and all that stuff, so this building's still open, so if we wanna secure our government elsewhere, it should, and if the library's gonna
Good
be
idea.
closing, it should be, we only have access to the library from 12 to 1. That way it's a sterile environment.
That's not gonna even be an issue, an option.
Right.
And you can't record over there either.
Why couldn't we go in there and use it if it was closed?
Not that we could, but
It'd be clean.
And the alarms after the first door, so.
I don't know.
I
did-
usually
don't
have a
know.
key, but I never use it, so I have no idea how you can get in and out of there. Then
So they haven't even confirmed they're closing yet, so we don't even know that.
Right.
I wasn't even sure they were gonna have a meeting tonight based on some of that.
No, I agree with you though, Graham, because I think, look at all the food in here now. We have to start stockpiling things, this is gonna be the place it goes. So I think probably the library, if they do shut down, that's probably the safest place for.
Well, let's talk to, can you talk to Rebecca, I don't know which trustee? Or maybe let Rebecca know and see how we can make that work.
She's gonna call me from the meeting,
Okay,
so
You can ask
I'll
for
be in
them.
this meeting to inform everybody what they decide.
terrific.
I don't know what time the meeting is, but
It starts at 6:30, but they were pretty worked up about whether or not they were gonna have a meeting tonight, so it was kind of a cluster.
So Susan put on the website, the link to the CDC 211 connection, or the 211 call-in number, and then, basically just a little blurb stating, please restrict non-essential business away from the town hall.
Yeah, and maybe we should have that flashing on not the, public access channel, and like take away anything that doesn't need to be on there right now. Just if you have business for town hall or police or fire, call these numbers. Okay, and that'll be the flashing thing. He can rebroadcast this thing every 4 hours or something, but that should be the screen that's up on the public access. So before people come here and find the door locked, or they come here and they can't get in because what they felt was an emergency, the town clerk or the building inspector decided it's not, they can call and ask that. Right now, the town hall is going to be open for phone calls, but the door's gonna be locked. So,
I think instead of us rambling on for an hour in this meeting being rebroadcast, we should probably just have that information on the banner.
is there anyone have anything else to add on that? Okay. Then I'll go down the agenda. We could wait for the non-public for after, but,
So you wanna adjourn the Board of Health meeting?
we're in a Board of Health
Why you
meeting.
keep me around?
Okay. So, all in favor, actually, motion.
You don't even need a motion, so the meeting for the Board of Health is now adjourned at 7:02.
Okay, and I would like to call the selectmen's meeting to order.